And we're back for day 3. The boys are already going. I broke my foot yesterday when I slipped on my hay dudes. The old work dudes did fail me right now though, guys. I was stepping across one of these forms here and well, broke a little traction and got a little chewed up on the old shin there. So Rhino walking with a little limp, but hey, we got the boys some donuts this morning. They're already working hard. For everybody.
Gracias.
Sí. ¿Dónde quieren aquí? Yeah. Okay, so we're back in the machine here. We have to get about 2 more scoops onto that side and they will have enough sand to get the first grade finished out. So when we're trying to turn this far, we got the form in the way over here, so we can only put down 1 outrigger, and that's when things start to get a little bit sketchy. Not too crazy, but a little sketchy. But I think we got the perfect angle here for that bald spot right there that Abel needs to fill in. Now, while the last 2 pads get finished up over there, we're going to wet down these pads. The owner was over here yesterday wetting everything down pretty much all day, so we've already got it nice and pretty tight, but we got to re-wet them right now before we run the viber plate or the plate compactor over top of it. We also went around and hand tamped everything with a hand tamper. Since we don't have the sandbag trick that we like to do here, we don't want a ton of this stuff falling in the footings, and obviously you can see there's still some in the footings right there. We're actually going to scoop that out and use that once we have our plastic on top. We're going to use some of that as that extra 2 inches that we need. And then before we tie the rebar and everything, we'll come in and we'll clean all these footings out because, well, you know, you got a lot of rock and crap in here, but we'll make sure we get all those nice and clean on the bottom. So we crane the viber plate in here. And just like that, guys, we have all the pads on both buildings all nice and compacted, and now Abel and Chava are running through here and they're putting all of the plastic, which is going to act as our vapor barrier. And what that does is it prevents water from coming up through the concrete, doesn't ruin your floors. And once we have the plastic in, we get to do it all over again and spread 2 more inches of sand on top of the plastic. Now, reaching out to this far pad right here has been interesting. The problem with this up here is you can't really see how much you got in the bucket. So while you try to get like a 1/4 bucket or a little bit less, or a little bit more I should say, you have no idea. You don't really know till you start to boom out and you start to feel the weight of it. Now going to that back pad right there, you know, things got a little sketchy a minute ago, but one of the things you'll always see me do is I keep the load low. That way, if things get weird and we start to tip, we're only about, you know, 2 to 3 feet off the ground, and I can slowly lower the boom as it starts to tip, and you can really counterbalance it. And it's a real slow thing versus like this big violent catapult. And the other issue is there's the forms right there, so I can't put that outrigger down. So we're just rolling off 1 outrigger here. We're gonna wait till Jefe gets out of the way there. That way we're not booming out over top of him. Let's see what happens here. Keep our boom nice and low. You can also feel the front end starting to sink into the sand that we're in. We're not on the most stable of soils here, but let's see, we might start to tip on this one. I feel it's getting a little light on the rear. Oh, I think we made it, guys. I think we made it. Keep our load nice and low. Beautiful. Now, before we wrap up for the day, I'm going to swap out the bucket for the fork attachment because first thing in the morning we have the first batch of rebar getting delivered. And here's another thing that I don't think the owner noticed, that this entire perimeter here needs rebar put into it at a 90-degree angle. Basically, you'll have your flat rebar running across the top, and then they need to 90 down into the footings. But it is cheaper to have it done off-site at a company that has guys that just stand there all day and cut and bend with all hydraulic rebar benders and all that, than it is to have our guys sit here and do it on site. So He thought he ordered all of the rebar, but what's coming tomorrow is just gonna be all of our flat bar. And then we are having another company make all of our 90s. That way we don't have these guys tied up for like 3 days making, I think there's 1,300 90s that need to get made for this thing. So lots of lessons to be learned on this one, guys. Yeah, we grab them first try. Let's see. Now we hold down this button while simultaneously pressing this button. Wait, other way, and we locked our pins. It's a little early for the old Rhino here. It is I don't know, 5 something in the morning. We are on our way to the job site because we've got a very early steel delivery. 3, 2, 1, let's go to the job. Alrighty, so I brought us a chain here in the old work Bronco. Now that I look at it, it might not be thick enough. It might be all right. This one's been sitting on my fence for a while, so she's a little rusty. We'll get the old cat fired up here and warmed up. See, if I had gotten here like 5 minutes after our delivery time, they'd have been like, I've been waiting here for 30 minutes. Where are you at? It's, let's see. Let me check my phone here. We are 30 minutes past the delivery window. I love mornings where you hurry up and rush to get there early for the deliveries to be late. Okay, well, I am tired of waiting and the guys are over here putting plastic down on the other building, so we're gonna switch the forks back out, put the bucket on, and you know, hopefully the rebar shows up today. And we all know as soon as I swap out the forks here, the truck's gonna show up. Grab the bucket here, get her pinned back on. Now remember guys, we're only doing 2 inches of sand on top of the plastic here, so we don't need to bring that much over. Alrighty y'all, well, our rebar has just showed up. It's right there behind me. Let's go get this unloaded. And man, do we got us quite a bit of rebar here. Ese es todo. Sí. Yo chécale por todo, pero todo es mucho. Maybe más en el centro, Evo. Más para allá, Evo. Más para atrás. Sí.
Quiere todo porque el otro es el otro side is moving down.
Okay, all right guys, it's a lot of weight here. A lot of weight. All right, we made it into the job. That's a good sign. All right guys, first stack done. Let's grab our second stack here. Ese es muy atrás. Es porque ese es muy abajo. Yeah. Will these roll forward or no way?
I think so. They might be able to do that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let me put this, let's see.
Or leave that here and it'll smash up against it.
Yeah, right about there.
Okay.
And let me hit the brakes and then I think these 3 might.
All right, let's see if the driver can get those to slide forward. So the 3 on the back side, they're too far back. So when I go to grab it from the center, they're picking up this way and they're gonna wanna fall off the back. We don't want that. So he's gonna try and slide it forward on his rollers there. These drivers are usually pretty talented. Okay, well. They're going, it's just real, we got about another foot, we gotta go. Do that again. Oh, he's really going for it on this one. About 6 more inches. There it is. Perfect. Slow and steady wins this race, guys. Slow and steady. But we have our second one here. There's so much weight on here that this thing like barely wants to turn when we're going down that angle of that driveway. Perfecto, Evo. Puta, sí. All right, guys, the high stress part is over. Now we just got a couple of pallets. Okay, now we've got rebar load number 2 for the day. These are from our boys. We didn't set up the first batch, that batch, but this is our boys bringing in all of the 90s that had to be cut and bent. Think those are gonna stay in there?
You'll be all right.
All right. Right. Okay, so we've got all of our pre-bent 90s here. We've got the bigger ones. These are gonna be our corner bars in all of the footings down there. And then our smaller ones, these are gonna be the ones that 90 down. Probably better I just walk over here and show you. So we'll have our rebar mat tied, which will sit on top of the sand here, and it'll obviously be held up by the concrete delbies, which are those little concrete blocks right there. And then the mat will have 90-degree bars that tie everything into the footing. So there'll be 90-degree bars sitting like this at every 12 inches. So there's a lot of them. Now we're in a rush though, guys, because the owner of the property said, hey, they're gonna work me a little bit of a deal if I call the pettibone here off at 10 o'clock, or I don't know, now it's 11 o'clock. Anyways, they're coming to pick this thing up at 1. So we're opting to save a couple bucks here by getting rid of this a little bit early, but that's gonna make life a lot harder for everybody here if we don't start pre-staging a bunch of stuff. So I'm running around right now, moving a bunch of the sand. We don't wanna put too much sand, because now you're creating more work for yourself on having to get the sand out of here. But I also wanna be able to stage the rebar, because way off in that corner over there, it's a pain to walk all the way over to the first building over here. So I want to stage the rebar in the center right here. Unfortunately, this is like 19 something wide. The rebar is 20 foot, so we're gonna have to get it above these forms. So we're in a little bit of a rush right now. Not a fan of things being called off early. Saving a couple bucks can make life a lot harder. We've learned that on this project. So we've got about 30 minutes before they show up to pick this thing up. So I'm gonna move as much steel as I can here and try to be pretty strategic here about how we place it. And while we managed to get all of these sand loaded in, as well as our rebar staged down the center here, because the machine was supposed to be leaving an hour ago, apparently they have not come to get it. Something tells me that they're not gonna come get this today. I could be wrong, but it's getting close to the end of the day. Where you going, buddy? You gotta show everybody you're supervising today, at the end of the day. Oh, you gotta get in the AC, okay, yep, supervisor position. Now, we've gotten about as far as we're gonna get today, and I gotta personally pull off and go back to the restaurant. So Evo, Chava, and the guys here are going to get the rest of this graded out, recompact it, compact the top layer of sand, and then start throwing in all the rebar. I don't know how much of that we're gonna film, but I'm gonna do my best for you guys in between the restaurant project and this project.
Damn.